The election season is on, and with that comes freebie season. Distributing freebies has become a norm in election campaigns across the country, from free rations to free electricity, free bus rides for women, the offer of jobs, free door-to-door ration delivery, free pension. Last year, Prime Minister Modi called out this freebie culture. He called it the Retd culture, and he said they are a hindrance in the nation's economic development. But the opposition has hit back, saying that these freebies are actually welfare schemes that benefit the poor. The Congress manifesto, in fact, has promised over 6 lakh crore in freebies. Will freebies burst the exchequer? Joining me to discuss this today are Mr. Arun Kumar, Dr. A.K. Verma, and my colleague Rajesh Pandey. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus Show. Dr. Arun Kumar, I want to ask you this. There's a very interesting petition in the Supreme Court right now which calls for banning freebies. There's a public interest litigation which asks for a total ban on such populist measures. My question is, how do you tell when a freebie is a freebie and it's not a genuine welfare measure?
So, welfare measures are of different kind. For instance, education, health, these are all cases of market failure where the markets are not able to optimally deliver, and therefore these are called merit wants, and therefore you have to give them through the state as far as possible, which is not to say you only give exclusively through the state, but a large number of people may need that support. Second is in a time of crisis that we saw post the pandemic, where large number of people lost incomes, you may have to give support in terms of food and other such items.
Yes.
Third is in terms of jobs, because we are finding that job creation is very low in India. The unorganized sector, which is 94% of the workforce, that has suffered enormously since the time of demonetization. So people have lost incomes. Now, even the data on the income, the wage rate is that the wage rates have not kept up with inflation in many parts. So therefore, A, employment is less, and B, the wages have not risen as they should have risen. So therefore, there's a problem of incomes. Now, even the World Bank has been proposing, because of this problem of lack of demand, that we go for universal basic income. Now, universal basic income is also in that sense a freebie. But the situation is, because of automation and because of mechanization, even agriculture is not generating jobs. There is a large amount of disguised unemployment there. The labor force participation rate in India is low, especially for women and for educated youth. Now, they need to get incomes, because if they don't have incomes, the economy will slow down. And we saw that before the pandemic also, that the quarter by quarter, for 8 quarters, the rate of growth slowed down from 8% to 3.1%. And that was because of lack of demand. So when there's a lack of demand, this also needs to be taken care of. I would have preferred the government to use this money to create employment. That would have been the best way to do it. But if you're not generating enough employment and people don't have enough incomes in hand, then even industry suffers, and then you have to provide money in the hand of people. The final point I want to make is that the public also doesn't believe the politicians, and therefore they want something instantaneously.
Absolutely, cash in hand.
So not only cash in hand, but free this, free that, and then competition. Because you see, the people are saying that we've been poor for the last 70 years. We don't believe in the long-term development aspect that you're talking about. Give me something today. So the faith in politicians and politics has gone down, and therefore people want something in hand. And all political parties, including the ruling political party, they've been trying to do that, give money to the farmers, give money to women, free gas, etc. So it's become a competitive thing in the Indian politics that all parties are forced to do that.
Absolutely. Competitive freebies being doled out, Brajesh, in election season. The Congress is a very ambitious freebie scheme. The manifesto that we were discussing last week comes out with the Mahalakshmi scheme, 1 lakh per year to every poor Indian family. That's a lot of money, 6 lakh crore. How does the Congress propose to fund this?
Nobody knows. They all are waiting, let us come to power and then we will see what can be done with it. See, the point is that whether what you call freebie or Retd, as Prime Minister referred to, or a well thought out scheme to uplift the poor and downtrodden. Depends on which side of the political fence you are. If you are the ruling party, then you will say the same. You know, in the same year when the Prime Minister was referring this to as a freebie and Retd, you know, his own party, the state unit of Karnataka, was announcing a slew of Retd cultures and measures, because they know for sure. One thing is for sure, you know, that the free TV, free gas cylinders, free kitchen set, or the dole cash is the only instant gratification which people are looking at, because voters also, as the professor was saying,
as Professor Arun Kumar was just saying, they won't care everything.
No, because they also know that once the vote is cast, then there's no seeing that politician for the rest of 5 years. So they all believe in that the instant we get, and you know, post later, I mean later, once the vote is cast, result is out, then they will not be able to see the politician. You know, honestly, it is a malice. It's a malice towards the state exchequer, the financial health of the country. But provided, you know, all political parties walk the talk and not depending on, you know, whether you're in the opposition or you are in the government.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, Brijesh, very quickly before I move on to Dr. Verma, the fact that last year the Congress had the UBI, right, the Universal Basic Income Scheme, that was a pillar of their manifesto, and that seemed to have been, you know, argued out in very great detail. If you see, an entire page of the manifesto was devoted to the UBI. This time, the 2024 manifesto has no mention of the UBI, and it's just got a two-liner on the Mahalakshmi scheme.
Well, they also didn't had a mention of OPS, because many believed that, you know, OPS was the old pension scheme, was the reason why they won Himachal. But I think you know, they have spoken to a lot many people, and they feel that, you know, what has been offered in their manifesto right now, as we speak, you know, is something which is guaranteed to get them good votes, and it is guaranteed to, like, you know, to reach out to a maximum number of people possible. You know, right now the BJP, you know, they have met under the stewardship of Rajnath Singh. They have met twice, and you know, they have already received 1.5 lakhs, 6 lakhs video, 1.5 to 2 lakhs video messages, and you know, many SMSs, WhatsApp from people, you know, of what could be the best manifesto for you. So, you know, people talk to many people, what they feel has clicked for Himachal may not have clicked for the pan-national, and that is the reason why those were dropped.
Right. Dr. Verma, the fact that, you know, universal basic income, again, this point that Brijesh was raising, that was a key pillar of the Congress's manifesto in 2019. 2024, it seems to have vanished. It's come up. They've come up with a number of other schemes like the Mahalakshmi scheme. Why is there no well thought through scheme like they had the last time, a plan to implement this? Is this just something that, you know, they just think that they're going to throw at the people, and, you know, if it hits, well and good, otherwise let's wait another 5 years?
Sandeep, one thing I would say that it's very difficult to define what's a freebie and what's not a freebie. That is one thing. And the second thing is that there is one freebie which is given by the incumbent government, like the Ladli Behna scheme.
Yes.
Madhya Pradesh, if you remember, which is hyped to be one of the reasons why the BJP won so massively over there.
Right.
And the second is that the freebies which are, you know, promised during polls by opposition parties and many other parties. Now, the problem started, you know, with the Congress long back. And if I remember correctly, it was 1989. It was Devi Lal in Haryana who, you know, started this thing, you know, by promising this and that to the farmers. And thereafter, the South picked it up very well.
Yes.
If you remember, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana right now, and other Karnataka, these are the states which, you know, I mean, they virtually created a lollipop culture in the country. And promising sarees and this and that, TV and this and that, praise or whatever, everything was promised. And the people, you know, if the case was virtually given to the High Court and then taken to the Supreme Court. If you remember in Subramaniam versus Tamil Nadu case, and that finally came in 2013 when the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court in its own judgment and wisdom, you know, somehow did not consider these things, you know, as corrupt practices. Though, of course, the observation was very clear in the Supreme Court that they do influence the voting behavior of the people, electorate, and therefore the Supreme Court transferred the ball to the Election Commission and said that in consultation with the political party should come out with something in a model code of conduct. And one important thing that was suggested, which the ECI has not been able to, you know, even in the Ashwini Upadhyay PIL, which the Supreme Court has given a rejoinder that it's none of our business. So the Supreme Court have said that, and the Election Commission should have considered this thing, that at least the provision should be indicted in the Symbols Act,
Yes.
that anyone who is in the opinion of the Election Commission and the Supreme Court, or whatever the agencies are fixed for that, if it says that this promises every culture, or this promises a lollipop thing, then
Right.
at least the symbol there should be a provision for derecognition of the party. At the moment, you will be surprised that the Election Commission can only recognize a political party. It has
Yes.
no power to derecognize a political party. And
Absolutely,
lastly,
yeah.
coming to your point that the Congress has promised and forgotten that thing, the thing. The part I am feeling that the party which has a lesser chance of getting into the power
Right.
has the probability of promising even the moon to the people,
Right.
and that's a very safe thing to do. And
Yes.
that triggers, a kind of a rivalry among so many political parties, that they don't want to be seen left out so far as the domain of promising every things to the electorate is concerned.
Right. Competitive populism. And Professor Kumar, the fact that how do you define a good freebie and a bad freebie? And obviously a freebie is something that once a political party promises it, it comes to power, it implements it, and that money is taken away from, say, the creation of public goods like infrastructure or roads, there are dams, hospitals, what have you. Is there a code that political parties could kind of agree on? This seems impossible given the frenzy, but is there something that you can say that this is a good freebie, this is a bad freebie?
So it all depends on how the impact on the economy is. Is it going to actually make people permanently dependent on
Right.
the scheme that is being announced, or does it actually enable people to get out of their crisis that they're facing? So it also depends on what is the current political situation.
Right.
Can we say that, if we offer incentive to industry, that's also a freebie and that should also not be announced?
Right.
When we say that we'll promote agriculture, is that also a freebie? Should that also not be announced? So it all depends on the particular stage at which the economy is, at the stage at which the politics of the country is. If you want to promote industry, that is to promote jobs. If you want to promote agriculture, that's to promote jobs. If you want to promote education and health, that's the social infrastructure and so on. But if there's a crisis and then you want to offer money, that also one can understand. But I think what the money should be spent on is on employment generation.
Right.
And that's why I'm opposed to universal basic income, because
Yes.
that does not give dignity. If you have money to give to universal basic income, you should create jobs. The final point I want to make is that the World Bank itself recognized in the mid-1980s
Yes.
that the new economic policies will create a lot of social problems. And that's why in the 2000s, we went in for the various rights, right to education, right to work, and right to housing, etc., that we talked about in the 2005-2008 period.
Right.
And we went into that because it was recognized that, the social explosion could take place if you have a lot of unemployment, you have
Yes.
a lot of disparities growing, etc. So therefore, we need
Right.
to also basically alter our economic policies so
Yes.
that this kind of inequality that is taking place in the country, which, recent reports suggest that 1% have 40% of the wealth,
Yes.
22% of the incomes, and these do not include the black income generation.
Right.
If I include the black income generation, then 1% would have 60% of the wealth, and the bottom 50% would have barely 3% of the wealth. So
Right.
in other words, extreme inequality that is getting created is also creating a social problem, and that's also resulting in the kind of freebie culture that has come to play in the Indian polity. And
Yes.
this is a competitive situation in which if you promise this, the others will also promise that.
Yes.
And therefore, I think we have to take a wider view of
Right.
what is happening in the economy and our politics. Then only we'll be able to come to a solution. Otherwise, we'll keep on having blame game. One will blame the other, and the other
Yes.
will blame the
Absolutely.
else.
Competitive,
And that doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't solve the problem indeed. And Brijesh, what explains the BJP's U-turn on freebies? This was the government, Prime Minister Modi's government was totally opposed to freebies, but in the last couple of years they have been kind of forced to join the game, if I may say so. But the fact, you have schemes like the PMGKY, the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, Anna Yojana, it's the largest of this kind in the world. And it clearly seems to be there for the long haul. It was supposed to be a short-term measure, and it doesn't seem like they're going to roll it back. What explains the BJP's U-turn?
Well, I think the kind of success they're generating out of electoral success they're generating out of based on these schemes is something which is which is convincing them that this is the path to go
forward.
to. And they they have also seen what the kind of chatter which OPS had generated. Remember last election in Uttar Pradesh, they were saying that Eastern Uttar Pradesh there was a lot of rallies in support of OPS scheme. Himachal, many believe that OPS was the game changer for the Congress party. So political parties, one of the most important aspect of their thing is that they have to win at all cost, and I think that win at all cost is something which is forcing the political parties to to indulge in these, offering obscene amounts of of freebies without caring two hoots about the financial health of the state economy.
Win at all costs, and that's the thing that's driving political parties to offer freebies indiscriminately to their voters, and that unfortunately seems to be the case in these elections as well. Even as the BJP claims to have, targeted 400 plus seats, a lot of those seats are coming on the back of freebies that they're promising. This competitive free-for-all, giving out freebies to the electorate. That's a story that we've covered in the past. The freebie movement. You can download our app and watch that series. Thank you very much, Dr. Arun Kumar and Dr. Verma, my colleague Brijesh, for joining us this evening. The freebies, big story out of this election 2024.
मोदी की गारंटी यानी हर गारंटी पूरा होने की गारंटी।
हमको शक्ति मिलने के बाद गरीबों के लिए न्याय स्कीम दिलाएंगे और कम से कम 60-70 हजार रुपए हमारे महिलाओं को बराबर हम देने की व्यवस्था करेंगे।
पंजाब में 300 यूनिट, दिल्ली में 200 यूनिट, 200 यूनिट हर परिवार को मुफ्त बिजली मिलती है।
किसानों का बिजली बिल माफ करेगी और 300 यूनिट बिजली के जनरल कस्टमर्स को देगी।